this is Mrs. Smeckens. And for the last several lessons, we've really dug into this idea of writing a summary. We've learned that a summary is significantly shorter than the length of the original text. And we started working on the idea of summary writing by using literature, stories. And we talked about this idea of somebody wanted but so then. And we talked about that you could summarize any story, a long 200-page chapter book, or a short story in a matter of a sentence or two with using only those 5 components. That is a summary. If you can summarize a whole story in 1 or 2 sentences, that is a summary. I'm going to add this little image to our anchor chart. Now it has the somebody wanted but so then on it. It's the same, but do you see the period? Do you see the lines? Because remember, what we're working on is summarizing in writing. And so if we read a long story and wanted to write a summary, we now know we could say that whole story in a 1 or 2 sentence summary. But the last lesson we've been really working on this idea of summarizing nonfiction text. And remember the idea of our ovals, our dissected web? Well, it's time in this lesson to figure out, how do you write the summary if you know how to take notes in these ovals, in the dissected web? And so that's what I want to work on in this lesson. How do you do that? Because I had said, okay, now we're only going to work on grouping the details, and then we'll learn how to write the summary. Well, we've been working on grouping the details. Now we're going to learn how to write the summary, okay? And the whole key to this idea of writing a summary using your dissected web, remember we read about social media. Remember this article? And we created, and we did a couple together in the last lesson, and then you were supposed to do the last few subheads yourself. Okay, so how do you take these details and turn them into a summary? And the secret is for you to really pay attention to the label, which we know was the subhead, right? The label and the details. And I want to show you, as you look at my little dissected web down here, that each one of these ovals, each group, because summaries, we have to keep the information in order. We have to keep it grouped. Each oval will become only 1 sentence. Wait a minute. Let's look back at our screen. This is the original article. The headline and all of those sentences. Look, giant article. But a summary is much shorter. How many subheads were in this? Look at the text features. How many subheads? Behavioral problems, good points, bullied kids, anxious teens. 4. And remember, each subhead was its own category on the web, its own grouping. And I just said that each oval, each grouping will only have 1 sentence written about it. We're going to summarize this whole thing in like 4 or 5 sentences, Mrs. Smeckens? Yep. Because a summary is significantly shorter than the original. And that original is long. And a summary is only the most important information. And we already figured out the categories of important information, and the author helped us with those text features, the subheads. Now what we have to do is figure out, how do we take all of our details and turn this into one sentence, and all of the details here and turn it into one sentence and one sentence and one sentence. That's what I want to show you today. How do you actually turn this into a summary now? Okay, so let me add this little notation here that each oval will only be one sentence when you actually get ready to write the summary. First, you have to do the oval with the details, right? That's what we did in the previous lesson. Make the list of details, organize it. New details get their own pie piece, but they all go to the same subhead, same category. But now all of this is going to turn into one sentence. How do we do that? That's this lesson. Okay, so let me explain a little bit more before I show you how this is going to work, okay? So we've talked about this dissected web, this kind of four oval organizer. And do you remember what the middle was? Do you remember what this oval was for? The title of the text you read. That's what goes here, because we only filled in these. This is the title. Okay, now you didn't really have a chance to use that one with the title, because remember, we were using the giant ones because we did one subhead at a time, and we were just really focused on keeping everything straight and grouped. Okay, but I want you to know that the title would go in the middle in most situations. Okay, I point that out because you see I have two charts today. This is the chart that's been anchoring our learning. This is our anchor chart, but this is gonna be where we write our summary of this passage, of this whole article, okay? And so now look here. I just said that that's the title, right? Okay, so I wanna take this apart, and I wanna show you how this is gonna turn into a summary, okay? And the first thing is that when you write your summary, the title is going to turn into a sentence, a topic sentence. Your first sentence will be the title of whatever article, essay, speech, whatever it is that you're summarizing. The title will become the first sentence. Okay, now watch this. An oval equals one sentence. No matter what and how many details you have in that oval, it's going to be one sentence. So each oval is going to get a sentence. And then the next oval is going to get a sentence. And if we have 4 subheads in this original article, and each subhead is an oval, and the title gets a sentence, our summary is going to be 5 sentences long. We are going to say this whole article about social media into talk about a succinct, focused, short summary. Remember, summaries are so much shorter than the original. Okay, so let's look at how this happens. How does this work? Miss Megan, show me how to make this happen. Okay, so I scanned in. Remember, we did a couple of these together in our previous lesson, and then you had to do a couple on your own as your task after the previous lesson. And so I'm going to take this one, okay? Anxious teens. See the label? Where'd that come from? Came from the subhead. Okay, so Mrs. Smeckens is going to take all of this information and say it in one sentence. Now, I couldn't do that if we hadn't first figured out what were the key details. That's why I love the dissected web. It helps me collect and group my details to get ready to write my summary. Okay, so what we have to do is use the label. We have one sentence, and I need to use the label in my sentence about this paragraph, about this oval, about this section. I've got to use that, and I've got to mention kind of the big ideas in these bullets, in these pie pieces. And I got to do it all in one sentence. Now, let me show you this. I scanned it. Let me show it to you on the screen so you can be looking at what I'm talking about at the same time, okay? And so I'm just going to talk to myself. And so remember, I won't write it right now, but the actual title to the article, okay, I'm gonna turn that into a sentence, okay? So we would turn that into a sentence. So now I'm working on this oval, anxious teens, and I got to turn it into a sentence. And so it might sound something like, teens get anxious when they can't get online and there's a lot of detail. I gotta reference a lot of. I don't have to say all of these things. I just have to mention. I just have to account for them. I just have to kind of umbrella them. I got to get them all in, but I don't actually have to name every single word on this pie, okay, or on this whole pie, okay. So teens get anxious when they fear missing out online, or anxious teens fear not being online, and it keeps them away from family and distracts them from schoolwork. Do you see how I did that? I mean, that is a really long sentence. But did you see how I kind of bounced around? And I want to say a little bit about that, a little bit about that, a little bit about that, a little bit. And I'm just pulling some keywords. Let me do it again. There's different ways you could say this. Anxious teens who fear missing out and not being online can be distracted from their work and miss out on their family. I did another one. Did you see that? I kind of bounce around and I try to piece it together. Let me write that down, okay? Let me write that down, okay? So I'm going to keep that handy because I need this. This is going to help me write the sentence, but you see how this whole oval is going to get one sentence. Okay, here. I'll try it again. Teens can be anxious if they miss out on being online and teens, we don't want to write a run on. Teens can be anxious if they miss out. Teens can be anxious. How about I take this out? Remember, summary short. We want to use as few words as possible. So writers sometimes make adjustments. That's okay. That's normal. Teens can be anxious about not being online and then miss out on family time and schoolwork. I took that, a whole lot of details, and I put it into a sentence. Do you see how the whole oval is now just one sentence? One long sentence, but one sentence. Okay, now wait a minute. Let's go back to the original article, where we read about social media. This article. Look, this is all anxious teens. Oh my word. I just did it. I took all of that original and I into one sentence. Okay, help me with the next one. I've got another one here, and I'll put it up on the screen. This was another one that you did. We had a bullied kids subhead, okay? And so you might have written down some things that look like this. Okay, so now we have to write one sentence, and we have to use bullied kids or kids are bullied or something like that, and a couple of the key words here. Okay, so let's think about how's your sentence going to start, because this is the next oval. See, it's the next oval. It's a new oval, so we need a sentence. Okay, so study that. What I see, body image issues, don't look as good, bullied kids. Why are the kids bullied? Body image issues. How could you say that? What might be your sentence? You probably want to start the sentence with these words because that's the subhead. Okay, teens can be anxious. Remember that was the last one, anxious teens. You probably want to start the sentence with that label. Okay, so how could you start the sentence using a combination of those two words? Okay, kids are bullied. Because of body image issues. And that includes that detail and that detail, doesn't it? Because it's all from the same pie piece. So it's all on body image issues. Kids are bullied for body image issues. Okay, let's write it. Kids are bullied for body image issues. You did it. Let's look back at the original. Remember the original article? Look back at that. Bullied kids. Look. 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. All of those words. And you just put it into a sentence. What's this called? What did you write? A summary. We're working on writing a summary. Do you see now how each oval turns into a sentence? And there's no answer. You're not trying to guess the sentence. There is no one way to do it. We could have written that a couple different ways. I came up with 2 or 3 different ways to say the anxious teens one. So you're not trying to guess an answer here, but you do want to identify the subhead in the sentence with the key details. Okay, so we're working on this summary writing. And if you were in Mrs. Smecken's class, here's what I would ask you to do next. There were 4 total ovals, and we've already, anxious teens, we already wrote the summary sentence for that. Bullied kids wrote the summary sentence for that. So there's behavior problems, okay? And there's good points. Remember those subheads right here, behavior problems and good points. Okay. All you're doing is writing a sentence. Sometimes it's harder to write less because you have to figure out what's important and not important and figure out the way to say it without writing a run-on. But you have 2 more ovals. Let me go back in my slides here. So good points and behavior problems. Look on the screen. I typed them up because the purple marker was kind of messy. We did good points during our lesson in the previous lesson. And we did behavior problems. Remember all the anxiety, can't share posts, fear of missing out, and behavior problems and good points. Those were the subheads. You need to now, and I'll give you the article. You'll get the article, okay? I'll give you the article again. But I want you to say this idea of the good points of social media in a single sentence right here or on a piece of paper. And then behavior problems. And you've got to mention something from this pie piece and something from this pie piece. Remember, if you have 2 or 3 pie pieces, in the case of the bottom one, you have 2, you have to mention both. You want your summary to include as much as you can of everything, but still only 1 sentence. Okay, so Ms. Meckens, all we have to do is write 2 sentences, 1 for that and 1 for that. Well, yes, and remember we learned how to paraphrase too, right? We started this whole skill series with how you can read, remove, remember? Read, remove, say exactly what the author did, but use your own words, synonyms, and then write it, and then return to the text and check for spelling. Okay, I want to review this. So, yes, you're only writing 2 sentences on this page, you're right, or 2 sentences on regular paper using this information. But then I want you to practice 2 paraphrases. I want you to choose a paragraph, 2 different paragraphs from the same social media article. But you didn't paraphrase this article before. No, we've only been working on summarizing it. So I want you to choose 2 different paragraphs, and I want you to read them, remove it, say it, write it, or type it, and then check it. Now, just a little something to know. I put paragraph numbers, and I skip some because I don't want you to paraphrase that pathetic little thing. I don't want you paraphrasing that pathetic. I want you to paraphrase something that has some meat to it. So only the paragraphs that have a number next to them are options for you to do your paraphrasing, okay? But pick 2 different paragraphs and do a paraphrase to review what we learned at the beginning of this series. So you're going to write 2 summary sentences to finish out our summary, and you're going to do 2 paraphrases to review so that we're really starting to understand the difference between paraphrases should be about the same length as the original paragraph, but a summary is much shorter. If you were in Mrs. Meckens' class, that's what you would be doing today. But your teacher might have a better idea.